Welcome back, everybody. It has been quite a while since I did a video. I think it was it's definitely last year. It's definitely 2020. I think it was like November, October, something like that. It's been a minute since I made a video, but my film camera reviews have been doing really well. So I decided I might as well just go ahead and do a few more since they're doing pretty well, gain some subscribers. Might as well keep doing it because I still enjoy it. Just been super busy with school. It's my senior year of college and life has just been crazy. I picked up a second job in my field, which is really cool. If you didn't know, I'm a film major. Now I have a job as an editor. Life is good. Just been super busy with that. I work 2 jobs right now. Film sets, film student, my minor, and all the other things that come with college. So life has just been really busy. I have a little bit of free time right now. Midterms just ended. We're in the week between spring break, so people aren't really assigning stuff right now. So I was like, might as well do another video. And I decided, pause. And I decided what better camera to start back with than the Olympus OM-1. The Olympus OM1 was originally introduced in 1972 under the name the Olympus M1, but then after getting in a scuffle with Leica, they had to change the name to OM1 in 1974, and they changed the name to the OM1, which we have here. Leica at the time already had the Leica M1, which was released in 1959, so they kind of had the rights to be like, hey, don't name it that. Because then you just would have had 2 companies that both had the M1. So back when this camera came out, you could have got it for $369 back in 1974, which is around $2,000 in today's money. So this was a pretty expensive camera back then. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, that's pretty much everything I want to talk about with the background on this camera. Let's just get into some of the notable things around the body. Let me take this off first, this nice little shell I got with it. We can take a look at it. Okay, so as you can tell, the body of mine is in pretty good condition. I would say pretty much perfect. There's like no dings or dents or anything on this. I have a feeling most look like this, but I was just amazed when I got it of just how exceptionally well it was taken care of. First thing let's talk about the front. I feel like this has the most stuff I want to talk about on it. First thing I want to talk about is this timer right here. This is the timer. You're just going to flip that, then that is going to give you your time. Take your shutter advance lever, do that little action, take this timer, and you're going to start that little bad boy by taking the thing under it, flipping that forward, and that is going to slowly but surely take your photo. Then right above that we have your rewind button. You're just gonna flip that way, and then that is how you'll be able to rewind your film. And then also if you look on this side, you can see where it says MD, that means motor drive. This is the motor drive variant. This was the one that came out after the original rebranding. People were complaining that it was really difficult to get a motor drive on this. You had to finagle it a lot. You had to do a lot of your own modding to be able to get one on here. So they came out with an edition that already had all the stuff you needed. And that is the MD, which is the most common version of the OM1 you'll find. Also, you have your built-in shutter speed dial. Yeah, pretty cool. I don't know. I'm just so used to digital cameras where that's like, you know, you do it with your little, what are those called? The little dials that are just on the front and back of your camera. I'm just used to that's where the shutter dial is. So it's kind of cool to just see it on the lens. Then there's also this button right here. If you press that, it'll kind of give you a false metering of what your exposure will probably look like. At least that's what I use it for. I could be completely wrong. That's what I use it for. You press this little button and it'll kind of give you a rough idea of what you're looking at. Last thing I want to mention is right here is an on and off switch, but you'll see with it off, I can still take photos with it off. This is for your light meter. That is the only thing that is controlled by a battery in this camera. You can run this camera without a battery, which is something I'll talk just a little bit more about later. Another cool thing about this camera is that if you remove the lens by pressing these two buttons on the side of it, turning it to the left, you'll see your mirror right here. Take this, and if you flip this button on the side up, it will flip your mirror up for ease of access for cleaning and maintenance, and also you can replace the mirror in here to get different grid formats when you're looking in the viewfinder. It's pretty cool. Okay, so now we've gone over the camera just a little bit. Let's go ahead and roll just some photos by so you guys can kind of see what I've been getting out of this camera. I'm not gonna do the whole thing where we've been in my previous videos where we talk about individual photos and what I like about them and what I don't, because it takes up too much time. You can just look at the photos and decide for yourself. And then we'll come back and I'll talk about pros and cons and we'll get out of here. Okay, my apologies, my balance over here fell, so if the lighting's a little different, sorry. I literally just have it leaned up against a chair because I don't have the most professional rig in my college apartment. So yeah, sorry if the lighting's different, it probably is. So now that you've seen the photos, I hope you liked some of them because I took them. Let's get into the pros and cons that I have with this camera. So first off, with pros, this camera, I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, that's such a shallow thing to like with this camera, but I mean, even if you were just to buy it as a shelf piece, like if this camera was to break on me in a few years, I would totally be okay with just keeping it as a shelf piece. I would be okay with you buying this just as a shelf piece. I think this is a beautiful camera and it really captures that classic SLR look that like people love putting on bookshelves as bookends, you know? The preliminary exposure thing that I talked about earlier where you press that button is super useful. I have used it so many times where I'll set up a shot and be like, oh, this is gonna be so good. I press that button and it's way too dark and I have to change things around. Right now I have it set to where it's just a teeny bit darker than what I'm seeing through the viewfinder normally, so I'd be okay with taking that photo. So that's a super nice thing that I love about this camera. Obviously having a light meter would be much better. Make sure if you want to use this light meter, you have a battery in there. But it is awesome that this camera works with no battery. I have run this thing with no battery for the entire time I've had it, and I've had it for a year and a half, almost 2 years now. So I have never run this with a light meter in it. I always just use a light meter on my phone, or I just guesstimate, which usually I don't do that. Usually I use a light meter. It's very dumb not to, because then you're just wasting money. But yeah, if you don't want to spend the money or the time searching around for a replacement battery for this, don't worry, because actually I'll just leave one in the description below. But my balance just fell, we're gonna leave it. But if for some reason you just don't want to run a battery in this thing, you don't want to worry about it like dying or leaking or anything like that, then you can run it without a battery, no problem. Also, it's super easy to lug around. I mean, this thing is tiny. It can fit in your hand. It is so small. Look at that thing. Whoa. It's obviously not gonna fit in your pocket because it's got a lens on it, but it is super easy to carry around. I usually would just have it around my shoulder. No problem really. I don't really notice it. Of course, it is made of metal, so it is a little bit heavy, but for its size, it's very mobile and it really isn't going to cause you much of an issue. Also, it is the greatest viewfinder out of any camera I have ever had the pleasure of owning. This thing is so sharp, so beautiful. People are always praising it for how clear the viewfinder is in here. Also, the glass paired with it is amazing. This 50 that comes with it is perfect. I'm always getting great photos with it. Okay, maybe not always great, but I get a lot of great photos with it, honestly. And that pretty much wraps up all the good stuff I have to say about this camera, so let's just go ahead and get into the cons. While it is small and it's not going to cause you many issues lugging it around, it is not ergonomic at all or comfortable to hold. I mean, it's just a, what is it, will it be a rectangle? Something like that. It's just not comfortable to hold. You have to have a strange grip on it. Most cameras now, you know, have the battery grip, so your hand usually has a nice grip on it. This, you're just like holding a book. Like, it is very flat. It's not super comfortable to hold. So that is kind of a bit of a ding if you're someone who really cares about ergonomics and having a comfortable camera in the hand, because honestly, if this was not around my shoulder, I would not feel super confident running around with it. Another con is most likely your camera will come with a dead battery or no battery at all, and the original batteries in this were made with mercury. So you cannot get those anymore. You have to buy the kind of like replacement battery versions of them, which can run from about $5 to $10, which in the camera world is not super expensive, but if you're just getting into it, $5 to $10 for a camera on top of the investment of buying the camera can seem like a lot. And I already said that it's kind of annoying to shoot without a light meter. I would not recommend shooting without a light meter. It is annoying having to have a secondary app, I will admit. I'd much rather just buy the battery and use the light meter in here. I honestly probably should, because this is probably my main go-to camera. Also, there is no peephole on the back, so there is no way for you to know that there's film in here unless you leave a mental note for yourself or a note somewhere on the camera to tell you that there is film in here, because I cannot tell you how many times I've set this camera down on a shelf, forgotten about it, come back to it a few weeks later, and then went to shoot something, there was no film in there, or I didn't think there was film in there, I was going to go put some film in, open it up, and there's film in there. Also, I will note it's very common for the foam that goes around here to keep it dark to rot and decay over time and just go away. Mine has, but luckily enough, I have that shell that goes around it, and it does a really good job of keeping light out. Okay, my last and biggest gripe, and this could be just me, so take it with a grain of salt. It is a film eater. I have shot 15 rolls on here, and probably about 5 of those 15 have been destroyed or ripped or torn or whatever. So then you open it up thinking it's done, and you've just exposed the roll because it tore in half halfway through the rewind. And the reason for me that happens is because there's such tight tension on the pulley on this side that's winding your film. And there's like no resistance with the advanced lever that I ever get. Even when you're at the end of the roll, it will go until you just rip it out of the canister, which has happened to me so many times. That is my biggest gripe of all. I have lost so many good rolls because of that. It's incredibly frustrating, and it makes me hesitate to keep using this as my main camera. But like I said, that could just be me. I could just suck at using this thing. Who knows? Probably that. But just so you know, that is an issue I have experienced. Alright, let's get into the final part of this video. Should you buy it? I was lucky enough to get mine for 40 bucks. Some dude put it up on Facebook Marketplace for, I think, $100. And I was with some friends, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna ask the dude if he can do 30. And so I lowballed the guy, wouldn't recommend doing that, but I lowballed the guy, and he said, I'll do it for 40 and I'll drive to you. Turns out, this dude was in a different state, and he was like, yeah, I have family there, I might as well just go for a vacation, and I'll bring the camera and sell it to you for 40 bucks. So that's what ended up happening. We met, he gave it to me for 40 bucks. It came with the case. Apparently it was his grandma's. He was trying to get rid of it. He doesn't care about photography. He just wanted it gone, wanted to make some money off it, didn't know what he had. So I was able to get it for $40, but these usually go for about $150 in good condition on eBay, but recently I've been seeing some for $700, which is definitely not worth it. I really hope that's not a trend that this camera's going towards, because I would never recommend this camera for 700 bucks. But if you are someone who is willing to spend 150 bucks on a camera, if you're not super new or you are new and you're willing to drop some cash on a really good camera, comparative to like the AE1, I would say maybe even better than the AE1, then this is a great buy. I would 100% recommend for anywhere around $150, and if you find it for around $60, 100% buy it. I don't care. Impulse buy it. I am approving. You can impulse buy this camera. But for real, this camera is awesome. I really like it. It does have its downfalls. I'm probably not going to use this as my main for much longer anymore, because of the whole eating rolls of film is kind of frustrating to me. But overall, if I can just kind of get over that, maybe I'll just start to learn its quirks over time, and most likely I will keep this camera in my collection forever, even if I'm using it or not. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It's crazy that my videos have been doing so well in film photography stuff. If you guys have any thoughts or anything to add to this review, if you think I left out, you think it's important, let me know down below. Maybe something I could learn that I'm doing wrong that I could change in the future. I appreciate it. I hope you guys really liked this video. I enjoyed making it, and there is more videos to come soon. I am super excited. I have a ton of cameras that I've been buying recently that I just need to buy batteries and film for so I can actually do videos on them. So thank you so much for watching. That is it for this time. I will see you guys hopefully soon. I've got a really busy next month or two, but then I will be graduating and I'll be going full-time into work. And I'll actually have more time to make videos, so I'm really looking forward to that. And make sure to subscribe so that way you guys can see what's coming up in the future. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys.